But that's okay, because I have found over the years that if you have a belief and knowledge of what you're going to be speaking about, it comes very easily. So in this case, this made it a lot easier today. In my role as a town clerk, I have the good fortune of meeting scores of people who give of themselves every day, volunteer for different various things around town, things that are needed to keep a municipality running, and it's not always easy to find volunteers. They're not banging down the doors anymore. Everybody is very, very busy, just leading their lives and running their families, and occasionally you come across someone who comes in and takes that extra step and goes over and above, and has energy and a mission and the characteristics that is possessed to get things done. That gentleman is sitting right in front of us here today. Most of us know that places like the First Parish Church and the town of Newbury, the schools, all the organizations wouldn't be able to function without volunteers. They're extremely important. And it's nice to see that we in Newbury do have that faction of people who care, and they do. Don has abilities to motivate people. He has a lot of energy, and he's risen above his own misfortunes to make important and meaningful efforts. Just because his service to our country as a soldier was done, it didn't stop him from initiating and providing service to his countrymen and to our good fortune to this town. I watched him take projects on. A couple of years ago, Don came in and inquired as to who was responsible for placing flags on the veterans' graves all over town. And at that point, through some very unusual circumstances, the answer was no one right now. Fast forward a couple of weeks, and Don came back and said, "Do you realize that you're supposed to have a Veterans Graves Registration Officer?" Again, that answer was, no, we don't. So the Board of Selectmen appointed Don, who immediately, directly, ordered flags, got volunteers, got the flags on the veterans' graves throughout town, and by Memorial Day, the dedication was there. It was where it was supposed to be. The flags were on the graves. He hasn't stopped since. I don't think he sleeps. I really don't. 24 hours a day, it's just not enough. His enthusiasm and determination are contagious. He's not shy about asking questions. He's not shy about asking for volunteers. And it's because he has a passionate belief in the programs that he's involved with. And he sees what's necessary to get the programs and events accomplished and make things succeed. Failure is not an option, even if he has to start the work alone, which he has done in numerous cases. For this First Parish Cemetery Restoration Project, Don didn't have to go it alone. He started it alone, and I think he found out very quickly that it was a project that was way above one person. A group of 70 volunteers, students, athletes, and coaches from Triton assisted Don in an enormous one-day effort, and were able to accomplish a massive amount as a team. They dug, cut brush, they hauled brush, they cleared away years of growth from headstones, many of which had been completely obscured with overgrowth. The transformation, as you will see in these pictures, is quite astounding. Speaking of the spirit of volunteerism, I don't know how many of you here know Linda Allen. Ideal Community Arts Center, Town of Newbury Finance Committee, Byfield Cemetery Restoration Project, Byfield Music Festival, it goes on and on and on. Linda stated to Don that in her opinion, he survived his injuries because he still had more things to do. Every time I see him, that statement becomes more and more true. Some of his accomplishments to date: his work with Delta Dog, Operation Warming Hearts, obviously the Cemetery Restoration Project, and so many projects and fundraising events that it would be pages and pages and pages. Currently, a great example is his involvement in Wreaths Across America. Don had a goal of 50 wreaths, which will be placed on veterans' graves, either a veteran who you know of or are close to and you want to donate a wreath to a specific grave, or just to a veteran in town. As of yesterday or this morning, 95 wreaths. So let's make it 100. An even 100, let's go above that. He's not a man who shies away from hard work. He spent countless hours right across the street there, covered in dirt, covered in sweat. He had the worst case of poison ivy I think I have ever seen, which took his efforts down a couple of notches for a couple of weeks until he recovered from that. But then he was right back at it. I think there might have been a couple of days that it rained out, that when Don looked out the window in the morning, he said, "Oh, thank you. I don't have to go there today." We often hear in relation to our veterans, there's a term they use called invisible wounds. I'd like to accredit a new term to Don and his group of volunteers. What's been done here is a prime example of visible healing. To Don and all those who participated in this project, thank you. We are, and you should be, extremely proud of your achievements.
Words here to first thank you, Leslie, for sharing that accolade for Don and the work that he's done. Don has came into this situation after serving his country in the Massachusetts National Guard. As many of you might know, he served in the Guard during a period of time when the Guard was deployed, and he deployed not only in Iraq but also Afghanistan. And during his tours over there, he was a specialist. He put his work, his skills and hard work to the use of clearing improvised bombs from the roadways. That was his assignment, and he did this in Afghanistan, contributing to the mission there in a very brave way, and sustained an injury, a serious injury in 2012 that required him to go and receive treatment in Germany. But Don has survived that, and not only survived and continued to serve that, but has really overcome and has come back and continued to serve not only his country, but his local community as a resident of Newbury. Don saw the challenge across the street there, that we have this incredible treasure in the first parish burying ground. The first settlers of Newbury are buried right there. Going back, and fortunately we have some of their descendants here today. And going all the way back to the first minister of this church, Thomas Parker, and many others in colonial times, revolutionary times, and generations beyond. And Don saw the challenge over there with the terrain. It's not an easy spot to mow. This is old New England, after all. We got hills, we got rocks, we got old headstones that are shaped all kinds of ways, and some are close together and some are farther apart. It's a tricky area to mow, so the landscapers who we send over to mow and trim do the best they can, but they haven't been able to get every patch of that sprawling area. And so there have been, so what Don found was some graves that needed clearing, and cleared, with his crew this year, they cleared more than 100 graves back there, including more than 40 veterans graves, who this year, for the first time in a while, at Veterans Day, they weren't covered with brush, they were surrounded with American flags, and they were standing before receiving the sun and the dignity that comes with having a spiffed up grave. Not everybody sees that vision and the importance of that, but once it happens, I think we all recognize the value of it. And to not only have the vision, but also have the wherewithal to bring it to fruition with hard work and mobilizing people is just an incredible testament. So Don, we are thankful to you for what you've done for the community, for our heritage, for the burying ground and the treasure that is, and for all the descendants, and for what it means to build on their shoulders, the shoulders of our ancestors, and to honor them. We thank you for taking the time, for bringing the wherewithal and the strength and all your gifts to bear on that. And so on behalf of the congregation, we have a couple of things I'd like to give to you to recognize the service. A couple of things. Again, these are on behalf of the congregation. We have a letter of thanks to you. We have a certificate, gift certificate from the Chamber of Commerce that you can use around town. So go have a good time and bring that in handy. We have the First Parish. If you've never been to a potluck here, you've been missing out. There's quite a bit of good cooks in this community, and they bring the tasty stuff to bear every Sunday, the first Sunday of the month after worship. We have potluck, and so this is a taste of that of sorts. A cookbook from the First Parish that might be useful to you or for those in the family who like to cook. And lastly, we're not going to forget Mocha. We know Mocha gets hungry from time to time, and so we've got some treats for Mocha as well. So, no, thank you, Don. We are grateful. Thank you so much for everything you've done.
So my name is Jarvis, for those who don't know. I'm going to apologize a little bit. I kind of made this presentation on my iPad, and when I converted it to my computer, some things didn't work properly. So there are two videos that I kind of need to close the presentation and open the video. I felt it important to show these videos as part of my presentation. One of them was made by the students from Triton, and it displays their work, as well as interviews from the coaches and the students, and the impact it had on them. And the opening video was made by a friend of mine in the very beginning to help me get the word out on this project. And from that video, I generated a lot of great success. So I felt it was appropriate to show that. See, there's a few quirks. I'm going to show you guys a lot of pictures and explain things, not only what made me do it, but what my visions are long term. And I'll be more than glad to answer questions at the end. So this is the First Parish burying ground. This is a picture of some of the stones. You can see just through here that we have roughly 2 stones that you can see here buried under some brush. But you can see, you'll see later on there's a few more. So I'm going to show you the video by my friend Caleb. My name is Donald Jarvis. I am the grave registration officer for the town of Newbury. One of my duties is to place the American flags on all the headstones of our veterans in town for Memorial Day. While doing so, I discovered the overgrowth in the First Parish Cemetery. This year, I have taken the project of clearing it up and freeing all the headstones that are buried in bushes and brush, and opening up the beauty of which is the First Parish Cemetery. One of the reasons why I'm so passionate about fixing up the cemetery is throughout my placing of the flags for Memorial Day, I've stumbled on veterans that have served in the American Revolutionary War, the Civil War, World War I, and World War II, some of which were buried in bushes that I had to dig out myself. We even have people here that were buried as recently as 2010, who I also found in a bush that I dug out. With the fact that we have people that have served this country from the Revolutionary War up until World War II, it means that they fought for our freedoms and the liberty and our rights that we have today. So with that in mind, they fought for us, now I fight for them. So, since I've started this project about a week ago, we've cleared out the main lot. This is the opening cemetery right up High Road. And I've taken the project and I moved it down to the back left. And I'll give you a tour of what I've done. We've cleared up all this, basic weed whacking, basic mowing. A lot of these small stones were buried in overgrowth of grass and weeds. A lot of this here was overgrowth, which you can tell because of the lack of vegetation from the bottom. We cleaned it up. It was all weeds at one point. This stone right here wasn't even visible. This stone was a bush. As you can tell by the vegetation growing back in where I cleared out, you couldn't see anything here. The only symbolized that was here was a flag that I had to fix up. A lot of this was overgrown grass that needed a lot of weed whacking and attention. And now you can see the beauty at the First Parish. This was a bush, home ply. He was buried 5 years ago. 2 weeks ago, he was a bush. This past weekend, we set up to free all these headstones that were overgrowth in bushes. As you can see, I still have lots of pile of brush that needs to be moved. This is from the work from the last 2 days. I'll take you down to where I'm at now. This was all a big pile of bushes, you can see. The vegetation on the ground. You couldn't see these guys a few years ago. That gentleman was a World War II Navy vet. Three Civil War veterans that were buried in a bush, freed yesterday. Flags were placed yesterday afternoon when I finished. Now, this is where I'm going. As you can see, there's a lot of overgrowth here. A lot of stones that are buried, kind of buried, but I'll show you some pretty bad ones. Here's an example of some overgrowth. You can see the stones. They're not that bad, but they're still pretty disgusting. More, not too bad, still needs work. Over here, to our right, we start seeing a little more of our headstones that are being buried in bush, some trees that need to be dug out. have what looks to be the Noise family. You can see there's a stone right down in there. There are 5 or 6 stones throughout here. And if you look closer, you'll see there's at least 2 more stones in there. Here's a veteran that I dug out on Memorial Day weekend. But I have to come back and I'll finish doing the whole clearing of this. Throughout my walk, you'll find a lot of stones that have toppled over. Some are obvious, some are buried in bushes, some are buried in dirt. And I'll show you one that I found a few days ago when I was digging out what looks like one stone. As you can see walking around, there's a lot of overgrowth here. It needs a lot of work. Straight back, there are 5 headstones that appears to be a giant bush. Here are the headstones I dug out recently. This was a bush. This was a bush. All that was visible was this one stone. As I dug out that one stone, I discovered those 2. And as I was breaking up all the limbs, I discovered this, a down headstone covered by a bush. Here's an example of what I was talking about having the headstones buried in bushes. If you look closely, you can see 1, there's 2 there, 3, and a 4th one. Just yesterday alone, I dug out 19. That's not including what I've dug out since the beginning of this project. If you are interested in helping me out, rather it be doing the physical manual labor of clearing the cemetery or researching who is buried here and upgrading our documents, not just for the family here, but for the town itself, I would appreciate it. Rumor has it the first person ever born in Newbury is buried in the cemetery, and my goal is to locate them. As well as a lot of our first settlers are born here. I would like to have this be a great field trip for our elementary school kids and people visiting the town. There's a lot of history here that needs to be researched and shared with the community. I'm looking to do that. If you're looking to get involved, please feel free to contact me. My phone number is 978-308-9186, or you can reach me via email at Jarvis, Jarvis .don, D-O-N, @gmail.com. Thank you guys for joining me today, coming along and taking the tour of the first parish cemetery in Newbury. I hope to hear from you all soon, and I appreciate all your help and support on this project. Thank you. So my initial goals in the very beginning was to clear all the headstones from bush, place the flags on the newly found headstones, and seek the issues and find solutions. I wasn't looking to do this as a one-time thing, but kind of put together a permanent solution to solve this problem long-term. And I knew it wasn't going to be done overnight, and it won't be done this year, but probably several years of work to fully restore the cemetery and put in preventative plans to prevent this from happening again. So I'm going to show you a lot of before pictures and kind of point out a few stones. So you can see what I first saw walking through. So here, you got a stone. This was actually in the video. You got a stone here, a stone there, a stone there, and there's a stone right back here. These are the 3 Civil War vets you saw in the video on the side. When I found them Memorial Day weekend, this is what it looked like. I had to get a weed whacker to get in there just to exchange those flags out. Now that's no longer an issue. This is another U.S. Navy vet. You can see on this, maybe you can't, but on the bottom of the stone here, it says U.S. Navy. I'm still trying to find out what war he fought in. This is the bush that you saw. It was half cut, and I spoke about going back and cleaning it. This is that bush. There's actually 2 stones under that bush here. Another veteran grave I found. As you can tell, when I first walked upon it, all you can really see is the flag. If it wasn't for that flag, I would never have known that there was a headstone there. This is another one down the back and the side over here. There's roughly 2 headstones here. You can see the yellow markings on the stone. One here, and then one over here. Another toppled down headstone. This is the Kobe plot that I showed you guys on the video. This is what I first saw it as. And I'm not really sure what this is, but it was pretty nasty. This also was in the video. You can see, it's a little dark. But, so there's 1 stone here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll show you some other pictures. There's 2 more stones there. This is in the back right. This is actually was the section where the kids helped me out at a few weeks ago. This is in the back. You can see that for that tall one, all you could really see was just the top of that. The overgrowth was getting a little crazy. It's not the before picture, but this is as I started cutting away. You can start seeing the stones to appear. It's another one. Some more. As I was cutting away, you can see the stones starting to come out. Sorry if I'm in the way here. There's a stone there. I do believe there's a stone right over here. Right about there. Yeah, that was the stone I was telling you about. This is in the down back section in the farthest corner of the cemetery. There's actually a veteran stone right there. I forget the gentleman's name. I want to, but you can make it out. There's a stone right in there. That was shown in the video after I cleaned it. A few more. Some more. This is inside the... I actually crawled inside one of them to take this picture. You can see these were buried there. There's actually one toppled right here. Right next to it is that opening space. There's actually a down stone there. Yeah. Well, so that picture that we showed in the video with those, that was a bush with 5 stones in it. That's actually this picture. This I did about a month ago. There was a tree that had 2 limbs that fell that were covering some stones. I had the linemen on the football team drag those away from me. They're heavy. This probably became one of the biggest projects to tackle. In the very beginning, we laid some guidelines out with the church on what I could and couldn't use for liability and safety reasons. So we actually, a friend of mine actually chopped down this entire tree with a handsaw, and I got a lot of poison ivy from this section. As you can imagine, it was not pretty. But I believe there's 5 headstones here. One, let's see, stood over. So there's one here, one there, and one here. And this tree actually has caused this stone to lean forward a little bit. So, the issues that I discovered was a lack of funding, which resulted in a lack of maintenance upkeep, and because of the cemetery age, a lack of family support from the ancestors from 1700s, 1600s, and the 1800s. I know most people aren't taking care of graves from the 1700s, but if your relative passed recently, you're more likely to go and take care of it, put flowers, and make sure it's maintained. And that became a little bit of an issue here. So my goals now, moving forward, was to find out the ownership, who owned the cemetery, seek permission to do work and help out in the system, clear all the headstones. Given the nature of the age of the cemetery, is it registered historic? With it being registered historic, that opens up avenues for funding through grants, which is what I'm tackling now. With the grant idea, I'm also looking at generating funds to prevent this from happening again. It costs a lot of money to take care of a cemetery. It involves startup costs, there's a lot of long-term costs, tools, gasoline, and so on. And then I also want to organize a cleanup plan, both short-term and long-term. Short-term being this year and next year, long-term being 5 years, 10 years down the road. Let's not come back to see these pictures again. And that would be the preventative action plan. So through my research, I contacted the Registry of Deeds in Salem, Mass. I found out the ownership belonged to the church. I reached out to the church to meet with them to kind of discuss my vision and what I wanted to do to help, and what I could do to help. I also found out that it was registered historic. I worked with the state to kind of update all the documents across the board. It wasn't on all the listings. Now it is. I'm also working with them to update what records they do have on the cemetery. I'm also doing research on different grants, both state and federal level, to help bring some money and support to kind of get what we need to move forward on this project. And I'm also working on different resources to help with cleanup and funding, like grant writers, because I'm not that smart. So I'm getting there. It's a lot of work. These are some more pictures that I have. There's a down headstone. I may want to show them, but another stone in the bush, more in the back. This is, I'm going to show you the before picture of this later, but you can see we have one veteran, so there's 2 stones there, down stone here, and at least 2 more stones here. That was from the video. This right here was also in the video. We were walking up the hill. I had some volunteers come down. We were cutting down this tree here, and we were also working on this whole section for the whole day, and we freed up the headstone that's back in here, who was also a vet, we found out. Come on. Those are Civil War veterans. These are like the during pictures, we could say. Here is the World War II vet you saw in the video. This guy is also a Navy vet up front. But back here you can see he's a World War II vet, which means behind him in this bush are those 3 Civil War vets that you saw. These are more pictures. I love the before picture of this one. This is the during. These are some pictures of what the volunteers have helped me out with. Here's a few here. And this picture is actually the same as this section. It's just a different angle. Some more work. Hey. I recently got rid of this tree here. which toppled the stone was right, you can see it. That stone needs to get refixed. So, through the historic registration process, it is listed in the National Register as of 1976 as part of the Newbury district, which is most of this section right here is in that registry. Benefits of being listed is grants, funding, and also it can bring attraction to tourists. One thing I would like to do is burial tours to help generate that money. And I'm also assisting them with updating their documents. And this stone right here is Thomas Parker. And some of you who live in the area know the significance of Thomas. Those who don't, he was one of the first settlers and the first minister in town. He also has a street named after him and a river. So it shows the significance and the importance that he was to the community. Here's a picture of me. So my resources, it began as an independent project. I used several different resources through several different media outlets, newspaper, the web, videos, the Newbury channel, and anything I could to help recruit assistance, rather it be through physical manual labor, or anyone who could help me do the research and just get something to help me move forward in this process. And I got a lot of feedback. Some resources I've utilized this year and looking to utilize moving forward is the guys from Lake House down at Newburyport, the local Boy Scout group, several different youth groups, through several churches or through youth groups in town, like the sports teams, for example. I've talked to Sheriff Cousins about getting some inmates down to help out from the farm in Lawrence. And I'm also working with the Newburyport Courthouse and the probate office to get some people who are on probation that need to do community service. I have some work that they need to do. Well, they don't need to do, but they could do. In middle of October, I had over 70 students that assisted with me. And a lot of those students are very interested in coming back and being actively involved with the cemetery, rather it be maintenance, wreaths, or flags, which is good. Okay. So here's some more volunteers that help me out. Some more volunteers. This guy was a great help of mine. He was a local landscaper, so we would utilize his insurance policy so we could use bigger and better tools than I was using. I was doing the majority of this work by hand. He came in, he had, I'm not even sure what that is, but it was an incredible weed whacker that could just whip through a major section, and we utilized this chainsaw to take down some major parts. Some more volunteer work here. And this is the picture I was talking about before. Doesn't even look like a cemetery back here. But you can see there's a stone here, a stone here, there's 3 stones on this side, and 2 stones on this side. If you look right back here, you see another 2. It no longer looks like that, thankfully. But this gentleman right here was a big help. So, now this is kind of get the feel, so you can see the before, during, and the after on this one. You know, so when I walked in, it was this. A little bit of work, it became that. Now it looks like this. Same here, these are the 3 Civil War vets before, what I had to do to place their flags, and what we have done now. You can see the difference. This is the plow that I showed you about with the handsaw and the poison ivy. You can see the before, the during, and the after. But that tree is now gone permanently. There's another section I took on. It's more up front, right in the middle of the cemetery. I actually didn't even know there were stones here. I just wanted to clean it up because it didn't look good. And while doing so, I discovered these stones. There was 5, and then there's some footstones throughout. And here's that picture again with the gentleman who helped me out here. You can see the before, and you can see the after. So same section, you can just get a feel of just how bad that really was. So Funds, which is a great topic. A lot of my ways I'm going to generate funds is through fundraising. I'm already working on a few different ideas. Grants, applying through grants through both state and federal. Looking at doing burial tours, field trips for the elementary school kids, where it's a local cemetery that has a lot of history on the town and significant people. I feel we should invite our students here for tours at the elementary level at least, so they can learn a little bit more on their community and the people who kind of paved the way for them. And then lastly, through donations, people that just want to contribute. They may not be able to contribute physically, but they could toss $20 towards a project, which some have. Now, as Leslie spoke about earlier, I am doing a Reef fundraiser this year with Reef Across America. It's a great program. Their goal is to have a Reef placed on every veteran grave across the country for the holiday. Their biggest campaign is for Arlington down in DC. I reached out to them. I asked them, how can I get involved? They explained to me their program and what it can do. Every Reef I sell, I get $5 back to put towards the veteran graves. Reefs are $15, so $30. My initial goal in the very beginning was to sell 50 reefs. As Leslie said, as of this morning, I'm at 95. I got a check yesterday for 30, which was really impressive. I kind of dropped my jaw on that one. Every reef helps every grave, every veteran grave. I hope to, down the road, eventually sell a reef per veteran grave in town. I think this year, with it approaching 100, and we have roughly 600 veteran graves, we're doing pretty good, and we're off to a good start. So, with selling 100 reefs, I've raised $500 for next year to maintain our veteran graves, which is pretty good. Cleanup plan short term was to clean away the brush, continue placing graves, and establishing some sort of marking system so I can figure out what I need to do next. What needs repair, where the stone's at that I need to stand up, find veteran graves that can get veteran markers that I can get through the store. I can buy the flags actually supposed to stand in, and that's part of what the Reef fundraiser will help us provide. Well, those grave markers. I've gotten some calls from residents looking for them. I'm working with the store. I'm trying to get a nice bulk deal on that. Cleanup plan long term is to fix and replace as many broken headstones as possible with people who are experts in that matter, which means I'm not going to go through and start standing up stones and digging them up. I'd rather work with experts to have them do it and just watch along them. Resurrect any stones that may have fallen over, establish a maintenance plan. We have seen this summer that people are willing to volunteer to help support physically clean this up. So that's not going to be an issue. It's just putting together a plan so they know what to do and who's doing what. Having it being financially sustaining, self-sustaining, flag holders for all the veteran graves, as I spoke about, and establishing 5-year goals. So we're not trying to bite too much, more than we can chew. My preventative action plan is to generate funds for maintenance, upkeeps, and repairs by doing that through burial ground tours, fundraising, field trips, and grants. My goal is to raise $1,000 within my first year, starting next year, and hopefully a minimum of $5,000 a year. Build a network of community groups and volunteers to help with basic upkeep and care for the cemetery, establish the maintenance plan, and get the community involved with flags for Memorial Day or in wreaths for the holidays. Again, the community involvement. We have a lot of deep roots here, a lot of big town names. For those who don't know or are from the area, Colby's a big name in the area, Knight, Perkins, Lunt, and Noyce. Those are all very big names in this town and have played a critical role to some degree throughout history. I know Noyce, James Noyce was one of the first settlers, also the first town clerk. Rich in local history, Reverend Tom Parker, John Woodbridge, James Noyes, Revolutionary War veterans to World War II. Some more during pictures. You can see the impact that we've made on the cemetery just through the summer. And you can see up here, we got brush piles everywhere. But you can see on the dirt, on the vegetation, that where there was overgrowth, a little bit. You can see back here that was in the video. Here's another section I cleared out. You can see where there was a little vegetation. And one thing I've learned is that there's a lot of poison ivy sitting back there. So you can see the Colby plot is up over here in the back left. And behind that used to sit this. And right in this bush, right in the back here, is that World War II vet. And right up over here are those 3 Civil War veterans. So you can kind of see what it looked like prior to the cleaning. In this picture, there's a stone here. The back main stretch where it goes down the hill was probably the worst. And it's hard to see. It's also the terrain made it rough. Is another headstone I found. And here are the high school kids. There was a lot of kids, and we got a lot accomplished. I was kind of, in the very beginning, I was told 30 kids, then I was told 50 kids, and then 2 school buses arrived with 70 kids. And it was stressful building up to the 30 kids idea and the 50 kids idea. How am I going to provide enough work for 50 kids with the tools? They brought a lot of tools, and every one of the students was extremely busy from 12 to 3, which I was very glad about. I wasn't walking around trying to babysit. They saw what needed to be done, and they did what needed to be done. Here's more. You can see the kids are all, this is probably one of the worst spots of it. So I had all the kids kind of focus here to help clean it up. I'm going to show a video that one of the students made.
On a fall weekend, the Triton Athletics decided to give back to their communities for helping the elderly and clean a cemetery. What made you come up with this idea?
Every year for Memorial Day, I go around town and place flags in veteran graves. And when I came to this cemetery in particular, I discovered a lot of veteran graves were covered in overgrown bushes or trees buried them. So the idea came from, I wanted to free up the headstones to enable me to put flags up for Memorial Day and Veterans Day.
How did you come up with the idea to have all sports teams do a community service project?
It's something that I've done in the past, and it's been hard as a coach and as an athlete. And I think it's just very vital for student athletes and coaches to kind of give back to the communities they came from, because that's the same communities when they graduate, hopefully they get a little bit, and it's building that really strong foundation for a community-based school system.
So why do you think this is important for your team?
Getting out and doing something for somebody other than ourselves, and that's what playing on a team sport's all about. No one's required to be here. The kids are here working their tails off, making this place look a little bit better. It seems like it's been neglected for a long time, and the kids are working hard and doing something for somebody else.
The opportunity to go out into Newbury and help the community in itself in terms of the veterans, the families of ones who are in the cemetery, I think it was a great eye-opener for a lot of the students to see the condition of the cemetery. Spend a couple hours out of there on a Sunday afternoon was a fantastic opportunity for the kids to actually give back to something that's valuable in our community.
The graveyard's filled with 50 to 70% of veterans, and we just want to clean it up and help those people out.
We're doing it as a school, a team. All the sports are doing it this fall. All the sports teams this fall are doing it.
Personally, it's not really something you should get elevated. It's to help the community and to make it look nice for the veterans that come visit.
Kind of bring us together as a team. Stuff. Sports doing team hockey stuff off the field. So bringing all these measures together is good.
Sense of accomplishment for doing something good for the community and doing something good for people who might be forgotten about.
What do you think your players are going to learn from serving their community this way?
But same answer as before, really. Just doing something for somebody other than yourself. You know, I truly believe that when you do things for other people, things come back to you. You know, I believe in karma. And you know, we can take a lot of pride in something like this as a community, as a whole community that everyone's out here working. It's good. It's good to do on a Sunday, where, you know, where most of them will be laying in bed and watching cartoons. So.
Alright, what do you think the seniors are going to be able to get out of this?
We're going to come together as a team, a lot better. On the field, off the field. And communicate with each other a lot more and just work harder.
You know, a sense of responsibility, a sense of ownership for the community, and I, being someone who's lived in the area for, you know, since the early 80s, I wasn't even aware that such a cemetery existed here, and then to see it in such disrepair is sad. So I hope the students, the players, get an opportunity to see this. This is something that we can easily fix and rectify and move forward.
Hopefully they're getting the same thing out of this as I am, and maybe getting a little closer as a team and doing something together.
You know, I think it's vital, again, for them to remember where they came from and to help out the people that set the foundation for them. Sometimes as student athletes and as coaches, we forget that long before us were these people in the community that helped build these programs for us to be able to participate with, and these are the same people and organizations that helped organize the school and made everything that we did possible, not only here in the school, but around our communities. And I think it's important to make sure that we keep that cycle going. So that way, in years in the future, everybody continues to build up on what we have here.
So my goals for next year is to keep the maintenance routine, work on getting flag holders for the veteran graves, not just at this cemetery, but for the town. Establish a possible spot to store the equipment that I've purchased for this year and the equipment that will be needed to maintain it down the road. I've already been looking at possible sheds that we could invest in. I also want to get the grant paperwork started, which is a lot of work. Get some more fundraising established, put together a website which could become a hub of information for the burying ground, for ancestors looking to find information on their loved ones who are here, and also for people in the community to stay up on projects that are revolving around this project. Rather it be cemetery tours, or rather it be like the wreath fundraiser, the day the flags are placed, things of that nature. I also want to redesign the burying ground diagram that's out there for this cemetery. It's a lot like a bingo square, which can be very confusing if you're looking for a loved one and you're told he's in B5 and you have no idea how big B5 is or where B5 is. So I'm looking to fix that. That was one headache I had to deal with in the very beginning. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. Any questions? Okay. That's my presentation.